a veteran's hope. Where are you hiding? I search for you in the seconds, the minutes of each and every day. Hear me as I call out to you. Take my hand. Lift me up as I lift up others. Welcome me home, father, mother, sister, brother, son, daughter. Hear us now. Alone we stood, divided we fell. No longer. Now we choose to make the connection. Our new mission lies within. Visit maketheconnection.net to learn more.
We don't want you on our team. You're too slow and fat.
This is weight bias.
Don't you care how you look?
Those with the serious disease called obesity face weight bias every day.
You're not the right fit for this job.
And blame themselves.
I wish I was different.
Weight bias hurts.
Let's stop weight bias.
Be part of the solution.
Go to stopweightbias.com, a public service message from Obesity Action Coalition.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
We're back. Are you just singing along? Okay, I think we're live. We are good on live stream, which is fantastic. Well, we did it live.
We did.
Yeah, you know what? That's what we have over Bill O'Reilly. Besides the fact that we have never actually had to pay someone $30 million to not tell people how awful we were to them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a
lot of money.
That's a lot. It's a lot. It's like a weirdly lot.
I'd be okay with it. I'd be like, well, yeah, I guess if you do what you got to do.
Yeah, at some point I'm like, 5? Where do you top out at the? Nope, 33 million. And by the way, that was on top of whatever God knows the Fox people had paid on his behalf before. We've talked about this before because of just the sheer number of awful. Hi, chat room. Hello. Hey. I'm going to open up the chat room on my thing so people can see it and people can see us and we know where we are and there. Yeah. So lots obviously going on. Look, Johnny Million, you're
present.
Yes, present. You're in a band. You play with Convoy. You've been in a band called The Millions.
Yes.
You were once in one of the classic bands of Chicago, Seismograph, and God willing, will be again. And you believe in the power of rehearsal. As a matter of fact, Seismograph, interesting enough, was all rehearsal.
Yeah, a 100% rehearsal and one audition.
Yep, that's it. Yep. I believe in rehearsal. Obviously not with stand-up because you can't.
No, not really.
There's one area where I'm fascinated that there was and I use this term in the safest possible way. There was a dry run. At Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, that sounds like chafing.
And we're learning now that Trump apparently wanted his absconding with classified documents that he was going to sell to the Saudis like memorabilia of secrets past. We now know that they did a dry run of getting rehearsal of when to move the boxes and how.
No.
Yes.
We know this?
Yes, we know this because a worker at Mar-a-Lago, an aide at Mar-a-Lago has been working with the FBI and the DOJ. And they squealed on some folks that helped move the boxes around. And the people that moved the boxes around were engaging in what is effectively a violation of the Espionage Act. And wittingly or unwittingly or just cultishly, maybe, in support of Trump.
So it gets to the point like everybody has to sign some sort of agreement when you work for Trump, right? Like some sort of, what's it called, the non-disclosure?
An NDA? Yeah, of course.
So this guy was like, FBI, NDA. And he looked at those acronyms.
Yeah, which one has more weight?
Yeah.
Well, also NDAs, and this is going to come to a shock to some of our listeners out there who are maybe en route to do something wicked right now. That an NDA.
He looked right at me.
Yeah, I did. An NDA does not cover the crimen. You can't. You can't.
Oh, don't be doing the
Don't be
crimen.
doing the crimen. It won't cover you. You can't have an NDA that does that. It's not an NCA, a non-crimen agreement. It's you can't. It's kind of, it goes in that realm of your attorney-client privilege or a psychiatrist. Like if a psychiatrist knows you're going to
like harm somebody or harm yourself, they're obligated.
Yeah, they're obligated to tell. So there are pass-throughs in those situations, and we've seen lately in a wonderful way how porous Trump's NDAs have become just for ex-workers. And then, of course, Fox is going through its own thing with this, this I guess she was a producer on Laura Ingram's show, and then Sean Hannity, and then
I've heard
bounced
from her.
around a bit. And surprise, surprise, her story lines up with why Megyn Kelly left and all this, because it's a awful, toxic, vitriolic, grotesque, uber macho.
Yeah, Megyn Kelly's like, I can be horrible on my own.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need a man.
I don't need a man to go be a racist.
Yeah, right. I can fry up the bigotry. Fry it up in a pan. Yeah, she's like, 'cause I'm a Kelly. So she, this particular story, this is coming out of, and Barb McQuaid, we love on MSNBC. Do we love ourselves some Barb McQuaid?
Oh, yeah.
She's good people. It's obvious that Trump hid these documents on purpose. Like, there's always been this thing about the Georgia case with Trump, where he really does have an out by playing stupid or deluded. Yeah. Like he can, I don't believe him, but he can lie and say, I actually thought I won the election to the jury, and they have to go, okay, your awareness of guilt is a big factor, either in the extremity of the charge or the sentencing
Even
afterwards.
when he's on the phone with the people in Georgia going, I just need this many votes.
Yes,
like, really?
Because he thinks he can make people believe he thinks that he actually had 100,000 extra votes out there somewhere. And he doesn't need you to find all of them. I just need you to find the ones that get me over the hump, and then we'll solve the rest of it later. And that's kind of the case he was making on the call. That's why the Georgia case is the hardest. Because of that, because he can play dumb and people will believe him. Yeah. The other, why not?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the records case, not so much, because there's the biggest thing, I think the biggest red flag is awareness of guilt everywhere. Yeah. Just awareness of guilt up and down the line. He knew to hide which certain boxes. He was hiding. He took some stuff out of the boxes and put it in his desk, thinking, it seems, that even if they came in here and took the boxes, they couldn't go through my desk and get my stuff.
Bad idea.
Oh, he's a stupid person. He's very stupid. Yeah. He's a big dummy. And and we're all, again, we need to count our blessings. People get very mad at the big dummy.
Right.
But you could be happy at the big dummy.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness he didn't have a strategic bone in his body. He doesn't have two strategic brain cells to rub together.
This was much scarier with a Dick Cheney behind the scenes.
Yes, it was. You didn't even have that with Pence.
Yeah.
That was the great thing. I think the break from Pence was at least the illusion of Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. That he had to maintain keeps him within certain bounds.
Oh, yeah.
Cheney never had that.
No.
I'm just, I guess, I'm basically Satan. I can do whatever I want. I shoot my friend in the face and go, hey.
He did some things.
Hey, Charlie, duck. And the guy goes, where? And I go, blam.
Or what if he said quack?
What is it, quack?
He quacked after I said duck. And that'll get you shot in the face every time.
Right. So there is Trump is losing attorneys. In in the best way possible. This is my favorite. I think this is my favorite part of the whole story.
Oh, okay. I don't need these.
Yes, huh?
I don't need these.
You don't need these right now.
Not right now.
Not till later. My favorite part of the Trump Mar-a-Lago record story, besides the fact that he thought he would get away with it because he snuck out documents in between framed pictures of his magazine covers, and is that his attorneys are quitting, not because they have a conflict of interest, or they're horrified at his behavior, or they've suddenly had an act of conscience, or he fires them and decides to represent himself Ted Bundy style.
Right.
Yeah. It's because they're witnesses for the prosecution. That they, they have become RICO lawyers, essentially. They have they're the lawyer in Midnight Run. They're going to turn state's evidence.
Wow.
It's so nice. It's such a nice thing.
Did you see that letter that Trump's lawyers sent that was obviously penned by Trump?
Leave it alone. Don't doing that. I'm gonna be mean to me. Like this whole thing is like, he don't like my face, and so he take my toys. Like it's
signed my lawyer.
Yes, right. Yeah, right. Signed Epstein's lawyer, which has a different connotation, obviously. If you live in Florida, oh no.
Yeah.
Boy, that like.
That goes from Welcome Back, Kotter to something horrible.
Something really horrible right away. That said. There is the big switch over from obstruction to actual espionage charges is the thing that Jack Smith is bringing to the table as a former prosecutor at The Hague, as a person who prosecutes war criminals. This is one of the things where he's like, I don't let those guys just go because they've got a lot of support. That's true in all these awful countries. Saddam Hussein had a lot of awful support. Yeah. Gaddafi did. Pol Pot had a lot of supporters up till the day he died.
Sure.
Putin has a lot of supporters. That's not a reason to not hold them accountable in the case of especially horrifying crimes in their cases, and in Trump's cases, hilarious yakety sax level espionage.
Just because a lot of people are down with the awful crimes they're doing does not mean that you can get away with them.
Which will come as a shock to Marjorie Taylor Greene at some point. Now,
I hope so.
Obviously, we're gonna have to take a break in a second.
Look at the back of my head. You can see my whole pterodactyl head on this stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that the look?
Yeah,
you've got the look.
I've got the. That's why I wear the backwards baseball hat, because it obscures the pterodactyl skull that I have.
Oh, I didn't realize you had you got like a H.R. Geiger situation going on there. Yeah, right. I keep expecting you to like pump out eggs that open up and a spider crawls out.
Look down.
We'll be back right after I get a symbiote egg laid in my stomach. They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
The Rick Smith Show.
Michigan. Oh, Michigan. I wish there was a song I could sing. You wouldn't want to hear it, but I wish there were a song about Michigan that I could sing, because I would do it, and I would do it badly. But good on you. First time in decades, a state that has enacted the horrible right-to-work legislation. Finally, a state has repealed it. Good on you, Michigan.
Tune in weeknights, 8 to 10 p.m. right here on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Dr. Rick here, with another telltale sign you're turning into your parents, getting particular about your drive-thru order.
Don't pull away yet. I like to check the bag because one time they forgot to give me extra ketchup.
People are waiting.
I'm only seeing 4 nuggets. Wait, nope, there's 5.
Progressive can't help you from becoming your parents, but we can help you compare rates on home insurance with Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Sign up for a library card. With a library card, you can discover new and exciting worlds. From borrowing audiobooks, to streaming movies, to taking virtual do-it-yourself classes, there's so much you can access with a library card. Pursue your passions and dreams through your library's resources and programs. September is Library Card Sign-Up Month. Join the festivities by getting your own library card today. Visit your library's website for more information. Sponsored by the American Library Association.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yes, answered a question in the chat. Phil will be joining us today. Question
we'll see
is,
how that goes.
How? Right, we're going to work it out. We're probably going to have to give him a phone number, like a regular,
yeah. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, like a regular radio
and then
show.
I can do like I can fashion a puppet.
You can make but we'll just hang a beard on the end of your thumb.
Well, I need a sheet of notebook paper to like fold it 3 ways. Remember, then you can make the little.
Oh, the cootie catcher. What do you mean?
Sure. No, not like not the intricate one, just the 3-way one that is like the flap. That's
I see. The sock puppet you made out of paper for class. If you didn't want to take your socks off in class, which never happened.
No.
There's everybody's going, grab your landline, Phil. We're going to work it out. Thanks, guys. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be here in Chicago. I have to say, it makes me feel good. Makes me feel so good. Please tilt Johnny's camera up. We're getting thank you.
We get lots of instructions and requests.
Yeah, there was a lot of there's going to be a lot of
a lot of backseat direction.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
This is what happens when when brothers direct a movie. I gotta imagine, like when the Duffer Brothers direct a Stranger Things or something. Just like one of them is going, hey, try this, and someone is going, no.
No, I had it that way on purpose.
If there's ever been a two cooks situation, that's it. And by the way, the hard part in this is in doing the show when we're here. Quite frankly, is not just chit chatting and saying hi.
Yeah,
it gets to be like a home show where we're just like, you know what, how you been?
Or you know what, I've got to say this. One thing I keep seeing in the chat is that there's a hum. Devin, there's a hum.
There's a low.
Could it be one of the many, many lights on in here?
It could be. It could be a 6. Oh.
Oh my!
It's like thunder when you do that. Yeah.
Oh my!
It's not the hum. There's a doorbell though. Somebody's at the door.
Yeah.
It scares me. So
I've been farting slow and steady for the last.
I appreciate.
20 minutes.
That's what it is. Blame it on the lights. That's a new one.
What are these lights?
The only other person to do that in history was Thomas Edison.
He farted for 40 minutes?
Fart and blame it on the lights. Nobody knew what they...
Oh, true,
Nobody knew the noise they made. They were brand new.
Yeah.
How do you know? You don't know.
You don't know. That's what lights smell like.
Everybody's like, there is a hum. I think I hear it. I think I know what they're... It might be the other mics that are open, just getting picked up stuff.
They're all off.
Nope.
Some people can't hear the hump. The hump.
That's that's. Yeah.
Trucker John doesn't hear the hum, I go by Trucker John.
You do?
At this moment, I do.
You don't even have a truck.
No, but he does.
All right, sure.
So
that's
Trucker
fine.
John's got a truck, so
this
we don't have to.
This has gone off the rails so quickly.
And what kind of show is this?
I don't. It's a gathering, and no matter how bad it is, we can never get as bad as the DeSantis Elon Musk launch. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that DeSantis couldn't get on a news network.
Right.
Or maybe he could have.
Well, my big confusion with him was his voice of his terrible character sales traits. His voice is probably the worst.
And just watching him speak,
it's not good.
It's really
well. The watching that's reason enough to only do audio.
Yeah,
but it's not because look, we've got to play to your strengths. Let's let you. Everybody loves the sound of your voice, so just do an audio
there's a clip of some guy going like, I'm not saying he's racist. I'm saying that the racists think he's
racist, and that's all that matters. Yeah, that actually is a phrase that's been around for quite some time, since even the mid-'70s, when we talked about a couple of people that were like on the fence in that transition away from Dixiecrat to Democrat. There was a bunch of like hangers-on who didn't get the memo. Right. Yeah. And Trump, that I even heard that said about Trump, which is, I think, totally appropriate. Sure. So we do have a lot of news about Ukraine, and we're going to try and get Phil in on the phone line for that one. I will message him during one of our breaks to get there. My favorite kind of like pop-up story, though, today, and I think it's like in keeping with the with Trump World, and we got to like Trump World's like a good phrase. There won't be one for DeSantis. No. Which is, I guess, kind of helpful. Yeah. We're in that marketing and branding has jumped the shark era with Trump. That's MAGA. I love the fact that he has to, in all of his recent speeches, he keeps trying to explain to people what MAGA stands for, the letters. Really? Yeah, he keeps going up there. It means make America great again. How can they be against MAGA when it means make America? And either that means he is slowly but surely becoming aware that the brand is losing that illusion. Yeah, as soon as people started going, when was America great? Yeah. And some people say, 1917. Right. And other people say, mid-40s. Right. And what's your definition of the period it was great? What's great, when women couldn't vote or when black people couldn't vote? According to Rush Limbaugh, it was before women could vote. Yeah. But he's where he belongs. Dead. Yeah, he's dead. He's dead. And anyways, there are with my background on with the China story, I deal all the time. My microphone is very sad today. It's lost some of its turgidity. It can happen to any man at my age. Yeah, it can. So and following the stories of what's going on in China and this whole illusion, which drives me nuts. You see me lose my mind on my regular live stream often about where the right wing thinks, Beijing, Biden, and that Biden likes China, when literally no president has been harder on China since before Nixon. And so it amuses me. There's a show that has been censored. I think it's called China Uncensored, literally, on YouTube, that the CCP is constantly trying to take down. And, basically, it's one of these, kind of like the China show, but more official. It looks like a regular talk show. Mm-hmm. And the host of it, his name is Chris, I think. Anyways, he's got a podcast as well that they do that just basically talks about all the awful of the CCP, and that's just his thing. And they got kicked off Truth Social. Wow. For and insofar as I've tried to find out in the last 72 hours since it happened, there has been no reasoning behind it. Just got dumped. Truth Social just pulled the plug on this anti-CCP, podcast and news network, and I think the dude's private account as well. Wow. Yeah, I find that curious. Meanwhile, Biden's signing the CHIPS Act and setting China's, military ambitions back a decade and their AI ambitions back forever. We can talk forever about how there is no way you have an AI when you're the Chinese government, because the last thing you want is people to be able to ask a computer a question and get a real answer. It makes no sense. That's the bottom of their to-do list. Yeah, exactly. Why in the world? Yeah. So, and by the way, thank you, Therese, for the super chat. That's lovely. And Hal Vickery, of course, is insane. So the reason I bring up Truth Social, other than the fact that they're doing oddly pro-Chinese Communist Party stuff all of a sudden with no reason, no answer, other than Trump Tower. Which speaks to why were they on Truth Social to begin with? Just to be everywhere? Yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have a Truth Social account because I like to poke the bear. We know why, Hal. Yes, because I'm a secret maggot. The longest con, you suckers. It's amazing. I'm even impressed with myself. Yeah. Look, I am a fantastic actor. You are. Yes, I am. You know what? I'm going to smash that like. I am not that good. I'm not Andy Kaufman commitment level. I'm not gonna.
And I'm not gonna Tony Clifton you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Whatever that could mean so many different things. I hate method actors. I literally do. So
I was just reading that's how Eric Stoltz got kicked off Back to the Future.
Because he lived in the past?
Because he's like, call me Marty. And he was like apparently like too rough with Biff during their shoving matches and stuff. I'm serious.
Right.
Because that guy does interviews all the time.
Yeah, of course.
And he apparently almost like dislocated Biff's collarbone when they were having the shoving match in the diner.
Right. Yeah, sure.
So, like, when they reshot that, like, Biff hardly did any of it because he was still hurt. So, like, it was just the shots over his shoulder to look at Michael J. Fox.
He grabs his collar and lets go. Yep. That makes so much sense.
Yep.
And also, you know why I'm mad at Eric Stoltz forever because of that?
Do tell.
Because the woman that played his mom got fired, recast. Leah Thompson got the job because she looked more like she could be Michael J. Fox's mom. And the woman who was like, this is oh my God, it's my big break.
Yeah?
She lost a job because he was a pain in the butt, which is part of my work ethic. Why never to be a pain in the butt? Because there's a tangential effect to the people who are supposed to be your family and other people that they get recast. That's on you.
Yeah.
Never mind shutting down production for a while. So we set a moral baseline, and a fairly decent one, I think, with that. And if you go on, have you ever been on Truth Social other than to see the little blurbs of his stuff? Have you ever?
No, I've only seen the screenshots.
Okay. Don't speed. Well, if you scroll it ever, speed scroll, because it's full of those weird ads for like skin boils and that kind of stuff.
Oh no! And then if like I pause on them, a cookie lands somewhere, and I'm getting fed ads
forever. That's right. You can't. Yeah, you must not ever.
Look, I can magically remove this cyst.
There's tons of those,
and the pictures are like way too high def for what they need to be.
Oh yeah. And worse than that, and hilariously, and I don't know why they don't. There is no system to purge this stuff off of Truth Social. There are multiple scams to sell Trump bucks and Trump crypto and like all these Trump-related financial scams that are sold on Truth Social.
And it's not even Trump trying to fleece these people.
Well, that's the question.
Oh.
Because I keep seeing them. And you would think, you and I are big Kiss fans. You blessed me with a Creatures with the Eric Carr staying true. Thank you.
Yep.
That we're big Kiss fans, and we're aware of what we would call the Gene Simmons effect, where look, we sell our stuff, you don't sell our stuff,
yes.
And if you try to sell our stuff,
you'll be hearing from our lawyers.
Yeah, we're gonna step on you hard.
It's pretty easy to prove that this is Kiss, this is ours.
Right.
Those are our.
And one would think the same thing about
Trump.
Trump. Anything Trump labeled in that regard.
So why isn't he pouncing on them? He's so litigious.
Right. Now, there's the article in this, this is from the cheat sheet on the Daily Beast, where they're internet scammers are reportedly pushing Trump bucks online, which display pictures of the former president and promise MAGA supporters big profits. John Mount told NBC News he bought $2,200 worth of Trump bucks, only to discover that he was a dummy. That he's a big dum-dum. That he discovered that's $2,200.
That's like buying an Applebee's gift card. It's like buying an Applebee's gift card. It's like this money was fine.
Yeah, it was fine, and now it's just Applebee's.
Now it's just
no offense, Applebee's.
Absolutely fine. I don't mind Applebee's at all.
That was just it. He was going alphabetically in the world of gift cards.
Yep,
it happens. He bought 22, only to discover they are worthless.
Huh?
So they're official, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's
true to the originator.
When he tried to cash them in.
Where?
I don't know. At the Trump store.
Or Applebee's.
At Applebee's.
Applebee's is get out of here with that nonsense.
He rolled into some maggot-friendly I don't know what venue. He tried to buy a bunch of Ted Nugent tickets.
Sure, yeah.
And they don't take Trump bucks.
Or he went to a gun show and was like, here, I'll buy this gun with these Trump bucks. I mean,
I see you got this Sig Sauer here for $900 US. Will you do 500 Trump bucks for that? Do what now?
Is it come on my what now?
They're what now? Do what? So
was that thump worthy? I don't know.
We got to go to break, but hold on. He is now warning other Trump supporters. It was very sweet of him. He didn't warn them about the buy the wall thing that Steve Bannon was doing, that Trump pardoned him. That's why I think behind the scenes, we're going to find out this is another, like, Trump has a piece of this.
He has to.
Otherwise, he would be shutting it down on the site, right? So,
or like it's just scratching some part of his ego, where he's like, these people, people think I'm so cool, they're trying to rip me off.
Listen to the names of the companies that are running these things, though. NBC identified Patriots Dynasty.
Oh yeah.
All right, sorry. Patriots Future and USA Patriots. And it's almost as if some like Saudis or Russian or Macedonian hacker farms or whatever went, I have noticed that these idiots really like word patriot, even though they do not seem to know what it means.
They don't know what it means.
Yeah. And found at least a dozen people like Aman who invested thousands of dollars after watching the misleading pitches on Telegram that suggest Trump was endorsing the products. Alert. This is his tweet. Alert.
It's his truth.
It's everywhere. But alert! This just makes all right. If you purchased any of the all caps TRB systems items, Trump Roblox bucks, something, I don't know, systems items, you got scammed. The TRB vouchers, DJT golden checks, DJT diamond checks, TRB golden checks have no monetary values. They are commemorative only.
Hashtag too late now, sucker.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing is it says that the tail end of it, commemorative only, because every single one of those ads on Truth Social says commemorative only in really small type.
Oh my!
At the bottom, it's almost like if you like Trump, you are pre-tuned to be a sucker. Well, like that's
They're
amazing.
Ready. Yeah. Oh, that's the barrel. Those are the fish.
Anyways, we'll be back right after this. After a word from Trump Bucks, Megaworldwide.
Bring it to us.
Yeah,
come on, Devin.
Sign up for them. They're commemorative only. But if you don't have them, you're not loyal. We'll be back.
Think Theory Radio.
Theoretical astrophysicist Dan Hooper.
If there's someplace a light year away from now, there's nothing I can do now that can influence that place in less than a year. No matter what I do, no matter how I build my quantum machine, or no matter what I entangle or what I quantum teleport, nothing I can do here can affect that until a full year has passed, allowing light to get there at the speed of light.
Think Theory Radio with Damian Perdue. Saturdays at 6 p.m. on WCPT 820.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
John, what are you doing? Get in my car. So why are you walking to work?
Thanks, man. It's these insanely high gas prices. They're draining my bank account. I can't afford to drive anymore.
Dude, don't walk. Just do what I do, because I never pay full price for gas anymore. I use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Oh, wait. You're telling me you get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code $, for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code $. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code $, for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code $.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Attention, attention, stop what you're doing.
Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
It's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're having so much fun. I'm messaging
it is so
Phil.
warm in here.
It is toasty.
It is so. I wore long sleeves.
I know, because you ought to be chilly, right? Yeah. The rest of the office
is
it's
brisk.
It's like the it's like the Letterman studio,
right?
Yeah.
But the opposite.
Because he believed that you can be that you're funnier when it's cold, which he's not wrong. Because if it's too hot, people get kind of it's more of an. Like, I guess laughing and shivering are so closer together than laughing
you
and
can get lethargic
and schwitzing.
It's schwitzing.
Right. So, anyways, I am going to send him this thing, and then I'm going to text him a number after this next break.
He'd buy 1 million Johnny Million commemorative bucks. So I will direct message you later.
Largely because they would have the worth of Iraqi dinars. A whole dollar's worth?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's 1 million.
So we've been hearing a bunch about this was a big week for shutting down talking points. As many people know, Hal Sparks, the Democratic machine, the talking points graveyard that is Mega Worldwide that I do every day. We have burned through so many talking points over the last couple of years, and some of them seem to be going faster and faster. And for me, the best one, and the one I've been kind of I think a lot of people were worried that Merrick Garland was moving too slow on a bunch of things and have been kind of griping about that for a while.
Yeah, that's moving along nicely.
Oh, yes, it is. And finally got their big week because we got something in the order of 4 or 5 people getting multiple years for seditious conspiracy.
18 years, 12 years, 8 years.
Yeah, and the conversation that the right was having was it wasn't an insurrection. Nobody's even being charged with seditious conspiracy. Yeah. Then the charges came and then it shifted to nobody's been convicted of seditious conspiracy. They can't. It wasn't a real. And then dude gets 18 years. The head of the
Can you
founder.
Imagine 18 years to sit and think about that? But he's got to be mentally ill. At the point where like he's going to be in there just like super proud of what he did.
I don't know. I mean, I just wonder if he's going to share a cell with Ricky
Martin.
No. The young boy that child blew a child away.
Oh, yeah.
18 in life. Never mind. All right, it was too subtle. Yeah, right. Yeah. Don't get me started. It's too early in the morning for that kind of thing. That said, we got another guy got 7 years. All of these folks, and this is the case I've been making about these maniacs, is that so many of the rioters who committed acts of violence and destroyed property and were threatening people and chanting violent things and seeking out, had they been successful finding Pelosi or Pence that day, would have engaged in even further violence.
Yeah.
So many of those people walked. Never saw the inside of a jail cell and got a slap on the wrist, and because all they did was go before the judge and say, I don't know what I got caught. I got caught up in this. I didn't mean it. And then they went home and they kept their mouth shut and they went back to their job and tried to keep their nose clean, and they got probation or whatever, an ankle monitor at worst.
Sure.
Anybody who's still in the D.C. jail, anybody who's still in the actual system over this stuff, has repeatedly, either on tape or in front of a judge, said, yeah, I did it, and I'll do it again.
Yep.
And the only, the one line that was played for the jury that sealed the fate of Stuart Rhodes, the "you'll shoot your eye out" head of the Oath Keepers, who literally shot his own eye out.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. They played a tape for the jury of him saying that he brought rifles to the event. His only regret was that they didn't bring him inside, that they didn't bring rifles into the Capitol.
That's your only regret.
Yeah. And of course, he famously threatened his wife and their children if they talked.
Oh, that was him?
Yeah. Well, there were several of them. He was one of them. He was one of the primary ones. And his wife even said, like, it's nice that we have that he got sentenced for what he got sentenced for, but the family is going to breathe a sigh of relief that this maniac isn't around us.
Wow.
So now there is
I think that might be how my wife feels when I leave the house for a couple of hours.
Yeah, she gave me some chloroform and a rag. I don't know.
I don't know what that's about.
I used it all up, though, on myself.
She sent your love, by the way.
Aw, that's very nice. I brought Summer.
You brought my love.
Yeah, Summer's sitting right over there, off camera, just kind of lurking in the background.
The most camera-ready of all of us.
I know, it's true. The most photogenic person in a fine quarter mile, as they say in Kentucky. And she's, I'm just saying you could help us with viewers. I'm not. All right. So a bunch of these folks, one of the things that we see with them is that they are unrepentant about their acts of violence. But on top of that, there's been this weird trend amongst right-wing Republicans while they freak out about drag queen story hour and whatnot.
They had to invent something.
Yep.
They banned abortion, so now what?
There's a guy named Jared Michael Boyce. He's a member of Patriot Front. Those are the guys in the khakis that wear the masks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that look like they're from the Walmart Geek Squad.
Yeah, but like the hood and the glasses.
Yeah, they wear white balaclavas, which is really...
The whole thing's a bad look.
It's silly. You look like an assistant manager at the Klan.
Yeah, and the whole thing, Mulaney's got that bit about where he wanted to, write a bit that used the word midget, and then they said, no, you can't use the word midget because that's like the N-word. Mm-hmm. And he said, if one word you don't say and the other word you do say, I'll tell you which one's the worst word.
Yeah, right.
If you need to wear a mask to go say what you believe in...
Yes.
That's not something to hang your hat on.
No, you are what we would call a properly marginalized community.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
They should be absolutely there where they belong.
No, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yes, some cultures should be marginalized, specifically Nazis. I'm fine with marginalizing them. I'm not rounding anybody up. I'm not asking for acts of political violence. I am, but at least some mild Amish shunting.
Yeah.
So, anyways. This Patriot Front member was arrested in June in connection with he was conspiring to disrupt an LGBTQ plus event in Idaho.
Cool.
Last month, pled guilty.
Okay.
To 9 felony counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, as well as a misdemeanor count of dealing in material that's harmful to minors as part of his admission to possessing child pornography.
So wait, is he, are they a trans person?
Nope.
No, okay.
Nope. Never done drag insofar as we know.
Huh, and they're not a member of the LGBT community?
No.
Okay.
Well, again, if he sent photos of his genitals to a 16-year-old girl, is facing up to 30 years in prison. His mother told the Daily Beast in June that she gave her son an ultimatum due to his association with Patriot Front. So
that's where she drew the line?
Yeah, right. So your dude is sexting with minors, and he's collecting child porn.
Do what you want with the children, but this Patriot Front.
Right, yeah, but ew. Look, at least she has a standard.
Yeah,
we'll take, at this point, any standard at all is welcome. We got to take a break. We'll be back after the news, and Philip Bittner will be joining us by the old-fashioned...
Yeah, he's going to call in on
he's going to have to call in on the old-fashioned lines. We'll be back.
Listen to the Thom Hartmann radio program every weekday from 11 to 2 right here on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
NBC News Radio, I'm Julie Ryan. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says Congress will meet the June 5th deadline to raise the debt ceiling.
Look, I feel closer to an agreement now than I did a long time before, because I see progress. But listen, this is not easy in any shape or form.
Arriving at the Capitol this morning, McCarthy told reporters no deal has been reached yet, but said he is confident an agreement will be reached in time to prevent a government default. The California Republican is meeting with White House negotiators for another round of talks as they try to resolve the final areas of disagreement. Millions of Americans are on the move for the long holiday weekend. Memorial Day air travel is at its highest level in over 3 years. The Transportation Security Administration says it screened over 2.6 million passengers on Thursday alone. A TSA official says the agency expects to screen about 10 million passengers over the Memorial Day weekend. A South Carolina judge is temporarily blocking the state's new 6-week abortion ban. Brad Siegel has more.
South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster signed the restriction into law Thursday, saying it would save the lives of unborn children. On Friday, Circuit Court Judge Clifton Newman put the new law on temporary hold until the state Supreme Court could determine if it's constitutional. Abortion providers, including Planned Parenthood and the Greenville Women's Clinic, have now filed lawsuits challenging the ban.
The NBA Eastern Conference Finals are headed back to Miami tonight for Game 6 between the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat. Despite winning the first 3 games of the series, Miami hasn't been able to wrap things up, with Boston winning the last 2 games to keep its season alive. No team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 series deficit to win. The winner of the series will take on the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. You're listening to the latest on NBC News.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
WCPT 820, where facts that matter to you matter to us.
The people who have correct information, who take science seriously, need to speak up more.
For accurate news coverage and factual conversations.
Gotta know what's happening in my city.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820.
Tom Hartman.
Ron DeSantis seems to be hell-bent for leather on burnishing his credentials as a genuine fascist, as a person who takes the power of government and directs it against people that he perceives as enemies. This is something fascists do. This is not something people do in normal democracies or normal republics.
The Tom Hartman radio program, weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
How do you know if your sump pumps are working? More importantly, how do you know if they're not? At Permaseal, we know the only way to ensure your pumps are in working order is to test them every day. We all lead busy lives. Most people don't even think about their sump pumps until there's a big mess in the basement. Permaseal can now offer you exclusively the best solution to keeping your basement and crawl space dry all the time. Introducing the Basement Defender, the only device that will activate and test your primary and backup pumps every day and alert you to any problems. It will also test and alert you to changes in your basement temperature and humidity levels, which can help avoid frozen pipes and costly mold issues. Our Basement Defender customers have the ultimate peace of mind. They know that their pump equipment is working properly, allowing them to rest peacefully during storms. Call Permaseal and ask about the Basement Defender, 800-421-SEAL, or visit permaseal.net.
Don't best for being better, Permaseal.
This spring, don't follow the pack. Lead it behind the wheel of a brand new Porsche from the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Lease the new 2023 Porsche Macan for only $799 a month for 39 months. Or reserve your new 2024 Porsche Cayenne today. It's time to merge into the fast lane. Visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. $86.94 due at signing. Excludes tax, title, license, and dock fee. No security deposit required. Expires May 31st.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
Oh, I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn puss-faced little pimpstick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So, real quick, we got Phil Ittner joining us on the line, phoning in, and I think we can hear him. Phil, are you there?
Yeah.
Look at that.
I don't know how's the quality. Okay.
Sounds great. And you sound terrific, and that's the least of our worries today. First of all, how you doing, my friend?
Good.
You look great.
He can't see you. That's very silly person. So, and by the way, just so people know, there's a ton of Ukraine news or whatever, but I would like to drop just for our local listeners and for people at home, the AG of Texas is going to be indicted on multiple charges.
Oh my!
At this point, Ken Paxton, that dude who led the charge of the Trump fake electors and all that kind of stuff.
Hasn't he helped pass all kinds of horrible laws?
Oh, he's a terrible person. Yes, he's not fun to be around at all. He's a very mean and nasty human being. But on top of that, he's one of those people who was curiously pro-Russia in a lot of these situations.
So weird.
Always coming to the defense, which leads us nicely into our discussion here with Philip Bittner. Hi, Phil. Catch us up on the latest. And we will have questions from the chat, no doubt.
Yeah, I've not been looking at the chat, so if you ask me
something... He's going to start.
Yeah, I'm going to start.
I guess the big one is the Ivan Kurz sinking, or the hit, one of the big things.
Yeah. There's that. There's the announcement coming out, I guess, the head of the military here, Gennady Zaluzhny, indicating that the long-expected counteroffensive, although I don't know if that's the right term to be using, it's really imminent. It's a matter. It's being described by people in the Ministry of Defense as it could. The quote that I saw was, "It could start tomorrow. It could start the day after tomorrow, or it could start a week from now."
Right.
That's the kind of time frame we're looking at here. So,
does it seem like
anticipating it for a while, but
right?
I think it's kind of already started, frankly.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think maybe part of it was the forces behind enemy lines that are sort of jump starting it, coordinating perhaps their activities with the bombing campaigns that have been going on as sort of a softening attack, I suppose.
I have those every now and then.
Yeah.
It's true, he does.
There's a bill for that.
Yeah, I know, but the studio is like sealed like an airlock.
Yeah.
Anyways, so.
Well, I think the counteroffensive has started because I don't think it's going to be similar to what we saw at the last counteroffensive that the Ukrainians launched, where they had kind of pincer moves and like direct offensive spearheads and things like that. Last summer around Kherson and Kharkiv, this it seems like, and it's until it actually starts full-fledged, we don't know for sure.
Right.
But all the indications we're getting is that don't think of this in terms of there being some sort of geographical, somewhere along the defensive line where there will be a thrust by Ukrainian forces, and there'll be a breakthrough, and then they go behind enemy lines and do all that kind of stuff. Where there's a push towards a military objective. It's starting to sound more and more like what the Ukrainians are planning on doing.
Right.
Is attacking along the entire front. So it's being seen more like a campaign than a single counteroffensive. They're going to try and put pressure everywhere on the Russians, or make conditions such that the Russians have to defend the entire line because they don't know where any one single attack is going to come from. And then occasionally they may, that's why I think the Belgorod, the incursion into Russia proper towards this town called Belgorod is part of that, because it's going to make the Russians have to defend the entire line and also the border and also strategic depths of Russia.
And play into sort of the paranoia about how, what could be coming.
It could come from anywhere is the mentality. They want the Russian soldier to think. They want the Russian soldiers to think that every one of them along the line is in jeopardy, and they want to make the Russians expend and deploy their troops so that they can defend everywhere along the map. Whereas, the Ukrainians will know where and when they're actually going to make pushes and things like that. So it's going to be a very different kind of situation than the last counteroffensive.
Right.
I think. We'll have to see how it goes.
Now, I think one of the things that I have been, one of the areas we're most concerned about is Zaporizhzhia because of the nuclear power plant. And so people, rightly so, are concerned about, a second Chernobyl and all that kind of stuff. And back and forth over the course of the last 15 months, there's been this concern that the Russians will blow it up or rig it, or, if they retreat from it, they'll set booby traps and they don't care, and that back and forth. Apparently, there are reports, and this is hard for me to kind of track down all this, but that the Russians are engaged in what are effectively like false flag chemical weapons attacks in the occupied territories of Zaporizhia as a quote an attempt to disrupt the counteroffensive, and like they're basically. It's hard to tell if it's an actual false flag or if they're smoking too close to ammo dumps again, which, that kind of stuff where they're, misusing their own stuff. And so it's better to, create a story out of it after the fact. Do you know, have you heard any of
but then if you also listen to the Russians, the Russians say, so this whole idea of a false flag gets really complicated because the Russians will say the Ukrainians are meant to have an accusation against us because they're going to do a false flag.
Sure, right.
The Ukrainians say,
no, it's your false flag. No, it's I'm a rubber ball, you're glue foreign policy, right? It's very strange.
So both sides are claiming that the other one is prepping for some sort of incident so that they can have an excuse to proclaim, either if you're Ukrainian, look how awful the Russians are, we need more defensive weapons, or offensive weapons, we need to win the war, or if you're Russian, the Ukrainians are just saying that because they want to demonize us.
Right.
And they want more support from the West. So,
gotcha.
The Zaporizhia thing is scary,
but more of the same.
Blowing up.
You think?
Kind of more of the same, but also, kind of more of the same. And also, you have to recognize that both the Russians and the Ukrainians know that blowing up, basically, in essence, exploding a dirty bomb out of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, could be really devastating for anybody, depending on the way the wind blows, depending on how it contaminates
and the
soil,
idea that they want the ground. They ultimately want the ground, right? And
also the Ukrainians are not of the mentality of destroying their own property.
Right, exactly, and that's again. That I think is the one thing that probably keeps their baser instincts in check and makes them act in a way, as much as they are leveling cities, they're trying to not permanently make toxic the space they would take over. Like, they don't care about Chechnya per se, but the restraint they showed in Georgia to some degree, the reason they did it is because that's useful farmland, useful functional land, and the same thing is true of Ukraine for the most part. There's been another report of at least 2 drones exploding in the Pskov region of Russia. And an unknown drone attacked a pipeline there, according to Mikhail Vedernikov, the governor of the region. He said today in the early morning, as a result of an explosion, the administrative task of the pipeline near village of Levidinov in the Nevelisk district was damaged. There were no casualties, which, in Russian speak could mean everyone is dead. And he later clarified that the building was attacked by 2 drones at once. This was reported on Baza 5:30 in the morning, and the pumping station of Transneft was attacked. The facades and glazing of the 3 administrative buildings were damaged. This is, the village is 500 kilometers inside Russia from the Ukrainian border. And it's like closer to Belarus. After Belgorod and the sort of attacks inside the country, is there buzz really about the, obviously I've seen, reports everywhere, applauding the Belgorod attack as just one of the most extraordinary military actions of the entire war by anybody, because they were able to just put Russia on the back foot so quickly and then bug out.
Yeah, well, and Belgorod was devastating. Well, I say devastating. It was a very powerful blow to the psyche of the Russians. And as much as they protested, it was no big thing, and we repelled the Ukrainian-backed Russian partisans, and we're not worried about it. Yeah, except for the fact that we can see what is broadcast on Russian television, and clearly it was deeply disturbing.
Right. They did ultimately destroy a BTR 82A. I have a list here. Armored personnel carrier, 100 millimeter anti-tank gun. Yeah, and 2 trucks.
Yeah, with captured some stuff.
Yep.
They blew up the FSB, which is the intelligence. The station there.
Wow.
Yep. The FSB. There was an FSB office that they blew up. They didn't get into Belgrade proper, so it might have been, some sort of local office. But yep, the Russian-backed, the Ukrainian-backed Russian anti-Putin forces that was in there. It has to be stressed. They made a point of making sure there was Russians that did this and not Ukrainians. And so they claim to have done that. They claim to have blown up an FSB office. They claim to have captured a bunch of armor, destroyed a bunch of armor. But it also it's a shock to the system when actually you have Ukrainians taking the war to Russia onto Russian territory.
Which seems like it could be part of... it could be the kind of thing that you would find in relation to the offensive, something that the counteroffensive that they could. Yes. This is a good lead-up ploy.
Again, right, and this goes along with the mentality that I say is what the Ukrainians are trying to do here is to make the Russians have to defend every inch of everything and spread their forces out because they never know where things are going to come. And I want to make one other quick point about that thrust into Russia towards Belgorod. What I think is hysterical, and it's not a coincidence. I am 100% sure.
Okay, wait. Hold for a second. Hold for a second. Hold that idea through the break. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be so good when we come back.
I built a tease in there. It's good because I want you to have room to say it. So we'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
If you want to stay informed about Midwestern politics, check out Heartland Signal. We are WCPT 820's multimedia newsroom, and we cover everything from local politics and state legislative sessions to updates about the 2024 presidential election. For the latest information, you can find digital news updates at heartlandsignal.com and new video content on our Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube accounts at Heartland Signal, where facts matter.
The Takedown with Cliff Schechter.
Here's the 10 most amazing Biden successes, the ones you must know that the media will not tell you about. Number 8, poverty.
The child poverty rate in the U.S. fell by nearly half last year to 5.2%. That is the lowest level on record.
What we're looking at here is really a remarkable success story.
Republicans claim they care about kids. It seems to only be blastocides in what books they read. In reality, Democrats passed the child tax credit. What did that do? The largest decrease in childhood poverty in 1 year in American history. Say that with me again. Largest decrease in childhood poverty in 1 year in American history. And then Republicans went and ended the child tax credit and were against it all.
Hear more from Cliff at heartlandsignal.com and subscribe to his YouTube page.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm going to have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So I agree. Welcome back to the show. Don't forget, you can like and subscribe on YouTube, infotainmentwars.com. Infotainmentwars.com. We don't need the documents. We've got everything memorized.
We made it up.
We made it up. Because it's because we're defending against absolute lies. There's not even any work involved.
That's right.
Why bother to fight the truth to fight a lie when it's just garbage? Just point it out and move on. And of course, patreon.com/HalSparks. You can support the show and help keep us on the air and make sure keep Johnny and his Lenny and Larry cookies.
Yeah.
Keep him. Yes, this is the only food he's got.
That's all I got.
Yes.
For the next couple of minutes.
It's like that old story about this man who was arrested for stealing a crust of bread, and the judge said, "Why did you do it?" And he said, "I only like the crust."
Huh.
Philip Bittner is still with us in Russia, and he was teasing us before the break about the effect of Belgorod. Cruel. And one of the things that the reasoning behind it, I believe, is that where you were going, Phil?
No, I was gonna make the analogy to 2014, and what I think is
Little green man.
Interesting the way the way the Ukrainians, and they're very good about this, and we have to understand the language that's being used between Ukraine and Russia right now. And one of the things that you have to pick up on, and it's very nuanced, is the Ukrainians made sure that it was Russian nationals who made this incursion into Russia. And they mimicked almost exactly the language that the Russians used when they invaded eastern Ukraine and the Donbass back in 2014 after the Maidan events. Because the Russians said, "Oh no, it's this grassroots resistance to the oppression of Kiev. We don't know where all these militants in Donbass suddenly got their hands on a bunch of tanks and anti-aircraft weaponry and these high-end, like clearly Russian systems."
Right.
But what they did is they just gaslit everybody and just stood their ground and said, "Nope, they bought all that stuff on the open market. Had nothing to do with us. We have no idea how that happened.
Good Lord!
It was a grassroots explosion in the east, by people who wanted to be closer to Russia than to Kiev. And today, now in 2023, with this incursion by Russian nationals towards Belgorod, driving around in Humvees and U.S. MRAP armored personnel carriers, and the Ukrainians have said almost word for word exactly what the Russians have said. Oh, they must have bought those Humvees and those MRAPs on the open market.
Right.
Knowing so well that the weapons have been flooding in here from NATO and the West.
Right.
Oh, no, they used to just, I don't know where those
we just purchased them.
It's almost word for word what they said in 2014, and it's perfect.
Right.
Because it's using Russia's own language and excuses that they used in 2014 against them in 2023. We all know that those Humvees and those MRAPs and those soldiers were armed by the Ukrainians, done with Ukrainian intelligence, done with Ukrainian support, and ultimately Western support,
and seized Russian vehicles. Right.
And seized, and they just stuck to like the Russians. Despite all, obvious evidence to the contrary, the Ukrainians just like, I don't know how they got those Humvees and MRAPs. I mean, they must have bought it on the open market. Almost exactly what the Russians just 2014. And it's genius trolling.
One of the secondary effects of it, though, because one of the points I saw made was that it didn't just serve as sort of a PR assault on Russia or as a scramble assault, that one of the things it served was it exposed the Russians' 3rd Motorized Infantry Force Division, which heretofore everybody didn't know where they were stationed or if they were already in the country. And this is how they discovered that they indeed were not, that they were still inside Russia. And they were part of the group that was, I suppose, either sent to defend Belgorod or were there and weren't able to do anything. But either way, it let the Ukrainians know precisely, gave them another head count of available Russian forces leading up to this the counteroffensive, which is incredibly useful in terms of what they know they have to prepare for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is the Ukrainians are showing the world that they're just better at this than the Russians are.
Right.
They're a lot smarter about how they use their military might. They're smarter in terms of how they use propaganda. They're smarter in terms of messaging, language, everything. They're just far more sophisticated at this than the Russians seem to be. And this is another example of it.
Yeah, and it apparently also the result of the Belgorod thing was there were a bunch of Russian settlements on the border, on the Russian side of the border, areas, small towns or whatever, that they have effectively evacuated ahead of this advance. At present, 7 villages on the Russian border are already without any kind of command structure, mayors, nothing of that. Everybody who's in charge of anything bugged out already. According to Andrei Yusov, the representative of the main intelligence directorate, he was on New Countdown. He goes, for security reasons, he did not specify the details, but he said there are several settlements on the border from which the Russian power has actually departed. In principle, there's not a single power there now, meaning any kind of administrative function at all. Everybody just left. What effectively are these fake city councils, these the mayors of these towns, they're just bugging everybody out. And at the same time that they are evacuating a bunch of people from Crimea, or that have, I guess, are self-evacuating. There was another fire on the bridge, and people couldn't tell if it was caused by. Everybody thought it was Ukrainians had done something, but I think it turned out that it was a car crash because people were driving to get out, so they weren't paying attention. So again, another one of these like self-inflicted wounds. In terms of, it was embarrassing for about 24 hours. Oh my God, they've hit the bridge again, and it turned out it was just a car crash because people were freaking out and trying to get out of Crimea. There are, there are very few options, I think, that Russia has going forward. Honestly, and we're going to take some questions from the chat room. We've got some already, and I think we can probably get one before we go to break.
Sure.
But they are running out of BS. They're not like that.
Yeah. And the other thing is before we get to questions, it's also, and it's a really important thing, is that, and it's not the first instance of it, but it's another indication that the Ukrainians are controlling the narrative. The Russians are having to respond to what the Ukrainians do, and they're really running things. It's the Ukrainians do stuff, and the Russians have to react.
Yeah,
and from a force that everybody thought was the superior force, the Russians should be the one dictating the way this war goes, not the Ukrainians. But it's just, it's been time and time again that the Ukrainians make the Russians dance to their tune, and that's, in a war, that's not good.
Yeah, and on that note, let's grab a question, Johnny.
Sure, yeah, I've got a question here from Nacho Tube. Please ask Phil if Chicken Kiev is just called chicken in Ukraine.
Oh, ouch! No, Chicken Kiev is named. It's not really actually made in Kiev. There's a whole long story to it. But
we're not going to get into that's not real Chinese food conversation, are we?
Yeah, no, we're not going to go down that road about whether or not Kung Pao chicken was actually
right. Whether General Tsao ever existed, or whether he likes his food. He loved really bland food.
Chicken tikka masala is actually a British creation, not an Indian one.
General Tsao had a very delicate gastrointestinal system. He couldn't take spices at all. I think it's an ironic dish. And by the way, speaking of spicy Chinese receptions, I don't know. Hey, little ham in it. Li Hui, the Chinese ambassador who went to the EU, was basically going around to all these countries, and the word on the street is, and the Ukrainian, interestingly enough, the Ukrainian diplomat is pushing back on this, but everybody else, the Germans, the French, everybody else is saying this, that they basically, the Chinese were trying to get the Europeans to agree that the already seized territory is Russia's, and just move on. And apparently everybody told them to go pound sand.
Yeah, well, that's why the Chinese so-called peace proposal is never going to take traction in Ukraine, because the 4 provinces that underwent a quote-unquote referendum, basically at the end of a bayonet,
we got to take
through this war. That shouldn't be Ukrainian, and the Chinese efforts are disingenuous.
Right. That seems like a preemptive Taiwan defense. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. More questions from the chat room at infotainmentwars.com. Like, subscribe, support the show. Subscribe today. Subscribe. Did I mention subscribe? You should subscribe. It's a good idea.
Out Chicago.
We need your voices. We need people out there who are our allies, who are out there to help just get rid of the disinformation and the lies. That's the thing.
Make decisions based on passion, based on humanity, based on kindness, because what we're hearing from the other side is just the opposite of those things. It shouldn't be tolerated in this country.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
Trade in and trade up at Hawk Volkswagen Joliet and save big with invoice pricing. That's right, you pay what we pay and not 1 penny more. Choose from a huge selection in stock and ready to drive home today, like Tiguan, Taos, Atlas, Atlas Cross Sport, and more. Plus, every new Volkswagen we sell comes with 3 years, no charge scheduled maintenance. Do a quick search and you'll see why smart people like you choose Hawk VW. The reviews don't lie. We're highly rated on Google, Carfax, Facebook, DealerRater, and we have an A+ rating with the BBB, and we actively support our local community. Now is the best time to buy a new Volkswagen. We've got over 200 new Volkswagen models in stock and ready to drive home today, including the 2023 Volkswagen ID4, Volkswagen's first fully electric vehicle. Hawk Volkswagen on Jefferson Street in Joliet and online at hawkvw.com. Offer ends 5/31/23. For more details, please call 815-741-1100.
Have you heard? Affordable healthcare is better than ever. And right now there are more carriers and plans to choose from. If you're between 18 and 64 years old with a household income of $25,000 or less, this message is for you. Right now the government's Affordable Care Act is available for individual and family health coverage plans with little or no cost to you. Don't gamble with your health. Call Healthcare for All at 800-337-9047. That's 800-337-9047.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Attention, attention, stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my God!
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Before we get to our next question from the chat room, one of the things I think we can all trace back to Russian interference and an attempted interference, not just in our elections, but in our society as a whole. In the same way that the TikTok algorithm is designed by the CCP, not Chinese engineers, not Chinese human beings who are trying to make a website and blah, blah, blah. The actual CCP designs it to undermine the functionality of Western societies. They want, the idea is bait, middle school girls into cutting groups and horrible stuff like that to try and create basically, these kind of ancillary dystopian moments in everyone's life so that everybody feels like they're on shaky ground all the time. And that's how you do it. That's how you destabilize. When you can't fight the system, your system's terrible comparatively, you undermine the social cohesion. Is that the thing? And the Russians, of course, setting up, pro-Hillary and anti-Hillary, pro-LGBT and anti-LGBT groups, and then telling both of them that there's a rally on the same day and that kind of stuff. We know this. And so the QAnon stuff was at the root of a lot of that stuff. A lot of that feed happened. And there's a big belief that Mike Flynn was one of the voices behind that, and his relation with Russia involved him dealing in that. Now, when Ron DeSantis officially announced, what popped up all over the QAnon things, which are still sort of semi-live, they still exist, and they end up, the message that they put out, they end up working their way up to the regular right-wing media sphere. There's literally a picture on one of the big accounts. I'm looking at it right now. It's a black and white picture of Ron DeSantis, and underneath it is from 18 U.S.C. 2381. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and or comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death. That literally, because Ron DeSantis is running for president.
Oh, it's treasonous.
It's against Donald Trump. They consider that an act of treason.
That's right there on the old Truth Social.
It's right there, it is not. It's none of this is surprising. I mean, like, they're Looney Tunes, right? But what little room they do have to actually sell this nonsense, where it still has a grip on stuff, is half the Trump voters. Yeah. Half of them. Half of the hardcore Trump voters that are still left out there, and my mom is FaceTiming me. That's fun. She just never knows when I'm on the air. It's just what happens. We'll bring her on. She wanted to talk to Phil. I think she has a crush. Yeah, she's going
to let you know she just hit your car.
Yeah, she just wrecked my rental car. Yeah. Right. 100 miles away, 300 miles away, whatever it is. All right, so let's grab another question, if we can, from the chat room. I text my mother and let her know everything's okay.
Got a question from Connie Kelly. Is the Wagner Group commander dissing the Russians who took over in Bakhmut being reported in Ukraine?
Sure. Yeah. No, they're very well aware of Prigozhin's stuff, his pronouncements. So Ukrainians are keeping an eye. I mean, there's no love lost for Prigozhin. It's a lot of people are very. There's a lot of questions about why he's being allowed to still say what he is. If he was, if he was a normal Russian citizen, by now he'd be in jail. So a lot of weird stuff, and a lot of the Ukrainians
they pulled out too. Didn't the Wagner Group pulled out of Bakhmut? They basically this declaring victory thing and then beaten feet had a lot to do with, and supposedly now it's going to be Russian troops that will roll in and hold the place. Because that was the agreement, right? But there's nothing to hold because they basically flattened the area. And B, the soldiers that they send in are these conscript, these like saps that get snatched off the street or former prisoners or whatever. None of them are trained. He even stood. I'm sure you saw this, Phil. That video of him standing there with two Russian fighters, where it was like this guy in his 60s and then this like younger chubby guy who was right next to him, and he's like putting his arms around him, going, "These are the Russian soldiers that are going to fight this war from now on." Obviously, making fun of their age and lack of physical fitness. Obviously mocking them, like whether they knew it to their face or even could have a say in it, whether they're aware and they're like, oh my God, this guy's going to get it. They're going to take a sledgehammer to our head right after. That was stunning. Like, don't worry about it. Wagner's out, but these guys have got your back.
Yeah, it's very weird. I don't know why Prigozhin is being allowed to say what he is saying. Some speculation he's got some dirt on Putin. Some suspicion that Putin is actually using him to, put pressure on other sections of the military.
Right.
But it's very, very odd that he hasn't faced more serious repercussions.
Cool. Let's grab another question because we got a few minutes before this break.
Right on. Next question is from Elizabeth. They're curious about Putler, which kind of makes me laugh, or Putler, leaning on Belarus while Z courts Biden. What are Philip's thoughts on that?
Well, leaning on Lukashenko and Belarus
while Z, the China... She, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, she courts Biden.
Yeah.
Look, it's not lost on a lot of people the fact that there's an entire international coalition that's been arrayed against Russia, and the only country that Russia can turn to is this little tin-pot dictatorship called Belarus. The Chinese are certainly not helping them out the way they had hoped.
Right.
The Russians. But if your only ally in essence is Belarus, you're not doing that right on. There was pressure, certainly brought to bear this week on the Belarusians because they've signed this agreement to allow Russian nukes to be positioned on their territory. That probably wasn't something that they would have agreed to without a little bit, more than just a little bit of pressure. It doesn't change anything significantly,
right?
But the fact that their only ally is Lukashenko, I think speaks volumes.
Cool. Yeah, we've got 5 minutes. Can we burn through? And I just want to make sure we get.
So. Yeah. A real quick one. Does Philip know John Sweeney, the British war journalist?
Sure do. Yeah, John and I collaborate on a lot of different stuff. So yeah, John's a good guy. He's a little eccentric, but who isn't? Who isn't?
And watching, and I don't know quite what the reference was from the question beforehand about Xi courting Biden in particular, because we've had, our ambassadors are going to talk because Apple, one of the world's biggest company, and America's probably biggest, financial company next to Amazon, perhaps, is basically in the process of extracting themselves from China, doing deleveraging themselves, as it were, over time, because you can't do that in one fell swoop, or you just shut down all your production entirely. And they should have started.
The suicide nets are full of people,
right? That's the even worse than the Foxconn stories about that stuff happening early on, where we found out later that, by the way, those folks that they talk about, it wasn't even about them not being paid a proper wage or the kind of conversation about it's so stressful or whatever, is that they were literally using slave labor from Xinjiang and lying about it. The Chinese were rounding up people and bringing them down there and forcing them to work. And those people don't even get the paycheck or the education or the promises that come after it at all. So that's how they keep the labor costs low, was that they were, because the people who really take the job, who need it, those folks wouldn't take, less than they were worth. So they pad out the numbers of people there with slave labor. Hence the shutting down of that particular factory, and then the Foxconn campus, the Taiwanese started pulling out of there and moving it to Indonesia and all this other stuff. So the United States is doing this kind of like Indiana Jones bag of sand to gold statue moment, where it's trying to get out without the darts going off, and it's very difficult. And most of what are talking, the back and forth this week was, Biden, I guess it was, Blinken and them back and forth, saying something along the lines that Biden was saying, we're not decoupling, we're de-risking and deleveraging from China, which is the exact same thing. Since it's all risk. And it's financially untenable to build a factory. No one's starting a new factory that has any brains at all in China right now. Even Elon Musk has, he had just started his gigafactory, and that kind of, that was his last hurrah inside there. And they're throwing all kinds of support his way. They're also stealing Tesla tech like crazy, which is hilarious at the same time. I don't know how he didn't see that coming. Maybe he's not so much a genius after all. But the idea that she is courting Biden right now at all is nowhere near the reality of what's going on. And they're not even bothering to court the EU at the same time, or try to break, between us and them, or try to drive a wedge, because none of it is playing out that way. So I'm not worried that anything they say about Ukraine is going to become a factor, just at all. Do we have another question? Because we got like 2 minutes before this next break.
All right. Next question from Berkeley Dowd. Why did Putin sacrifice 100,000 troops in Bakhmut just to declare victory by taking a city with little or no strategic significance?
I mean, it's a good question. I think once they started getting so deeply entrenched in Bakhmut, it became a symbolic victory, and neither side wanted to give it up. But you're right; it's not strategically or tactically that important. And I don't know how much of it was Putin. I mean, regular forces were in there, but it was in a lot of the Wagner guys, many of whom were just gathered out of prisons that were sent into the meat grinding there. So it wasn't really as much the Russian military as this private military group led by Prigozhin that bore the brunt of a lot of the casualties. But I don't know why when they started to try and take that vote, that they just got so entrenched in it that it became this kind of symbolic victory, but it ultimately was a Pyrrhic victory for the Russians. And probably one that they're not going to hold on to very long.
He was a little garbled on the last. Can you say that part again? You were a little fuzzy.
Well, I don't think it was a Pyrrhic victory for Russia, and I don't think they're going to hold on to it regardless. So we'll see what happens exactly.
Gotcha.
We haven't heard the last.
Cool. Well, let's take a break. Our final break of the show, and man, it zipped by. As you know, that's what happens when we hang out together. That's when we're all here. It's a boo. We got one more break. And chat room, love you guys. Thank you guys for the support. If we're not seeing super chats and that kind of stuff right now, I just want you to know we appreciate it. I'm just sending you love. Thank you so much for your support. We'll be back right after this.
Stephanie Miller.
One of the GOP's claims is that the DOJ went after parents objecting to critical race theory at school board meetings. In fact, what the DOJ did say, they would investigate anyone who made violent threats against school board leaders and teachers.
Exactly.
That's the difference. They aren't going after people that are complaining. No. If you're making a death threat against a teacher, of course you're going to get a visit. Yes.
Yeah, no, the problem with that is that 36% who do think it's legit makes up 90% of the Republican
there you go.
Party.
Very true.
That's the problem.
Very true.
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings 8 to 11 on WCPT 820.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
We can't end this epidemic until Congress pass some common sense gun safety laws that keep weapons of war off our streets and out of the hands of dangerous people.
That's President Joe Biden delivering a May 24th speech to mark 1 year since the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, which took the lives of 19 students and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School, making it the deadliest school shooting in a decade.
How many more parents will live their worst nightmare before we stand up to the gun lobby to establish universal background checks, establish national red flag laws, require safe storage of firearms, and end immunity from liability for gun manufacturers? The only major corporate entity that doesn't have that's immune to liability. So it's time to act. It's time to make our voices heard.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
I am happy, you are happy, let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky, let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. 'Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling, let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning, I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning, I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! Welcome back to the show. And of course, thank you, Philip Ittner. That in and of itself, that you're with us and you're safe and all that is a happy ending in and of itself.
Absolutely.
And my, my primary happy ending is that I'm in Chicago.
Wow.
Pretty great. Yeah. And we're it's a lovely.
Go to Little Kiev.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Little Kiev and have lunch.
Wish you were here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah. So I there's a lot to cover in this or whatever. Is there an upside in as far as life in Kiev? I know that they just opened. I want to say they fixed a train line in the northern part near Kiev or something along those lines, and they've been there's a lot of things coming back online, that were hit early in the war last year that have finally been repaired, and if they aren't hit again, will be normal functioning parts of the Ukrainian society, and going forward.
I mean, look, they released a photograph just this week of Bucha. And how already Bucha has been rebuilt and all, you wouldn't even recognize it.
Right.
So, the Ukrainians are not wasting any time in fixing things that have been destroyed in this war because, they're very optimistic that they're going to win the war. So they're not going to wait until there's a peace deal for them to start rebuilding their country because they know they're going to win. And they want to have a regular country when whatever peace accord is drawn up and signed, they'll be ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing is I don't know how if the Russians hit these cities again. It's a curious aspect of this. It's sort of like the tactical nuke issue. Is if they go over that line again. It makes it even more abundantly clear. It makes it harder for the Chinese to back them. It makes it harder for even anybody who's mildly on the fence in the EU to back them. Because the idea, every time you build up your city, we're going to destroy it with, you put civilians back there, we're going to attack it again. That it does not help their cause that them's the Nazis over there.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. Johnny, I don't know if you have a happy ending other than you're just glad to see me.
I'm just so glad to see you
I know.
in Summer.
Yes. That's I think we've got, we can get a couple more questions in before the end of the show, right?
Sure.
So I got a question from Greg Edmond. Is the nuclear complex at Zaporizhzhia completely under Ukraine control?
Good question, because
No.
Yeah.
No, it's still very much Russian-held territory. It's contested. The Zaporizhzhia front is a very active front, but right now the plant itself is under Russian control, but it is being operated by Ukrainian nuclear scientists because they know the equipment. So,
right, with a gun to their head, basically.
Right, basically. Well, and also just knowing that it's in everybody's best interest that the place keeps running steadily. So we have actually heard occasionally from these Ukrainian scientists or engineers or what have you that are at Zaporizhzhia, and the message that keeps coming out from there is, we don't trust the Russians to operate this place properly, so we'll stay here and do it, which is a very noble thing for the Ukrainians to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool. So I've got a question from Can't Stop Lion. Does Philip think Ukraine getting F-16s will cause any hesitancy from Russia once Ukrainians are trained on how to use them?
I don't know how significant it'll be. Of course, it'll be taken into consideration. I mean, the F-16 is a better fighter than pretty much anything that the Russians, with a couple of exceptions, that they can put in the air. So I don't think it's going to be like a massive thing for the Russians to be like, oh goodness, now we have to completely restructure our air power doctrine. But I'm sure that they will take it into consideration because the F-16 is a really good piece of kit.
Cool. Yeah.
I've got another question from Jordan Mills. This was a super chat. Has Phil heard anything about the Belarusian dictator being treated for poisoning in Moscow, and that the Belarus opposition party is planning elections to take back control?
There's been a rumor that actually something happened in Moscow and he was poisoned or something happened. I don't know how much truth there is to that. There is clearly something up with Lukashenko. He is not healthy.
Yeah.
Something is going on with him, and we don't know what it is.
Healthy.
And it could. He looks awful. He's not being very public forward these days. Something's up with him. Now, it could be some sort of illness. It could be some sort of ailment.
Right.
But it could also just be he knows he's in trouble.
Yeah.
He knows he's deeply
just stress.
His future is tied intrinsically to Putin.
Right.
And he knows things are not going well.
Yeah.
So it may just be the realization that his, what is it now, 30 plus years in power, almost 40 years in power, is probably going to come to a close, and it's not going to be a very good legacy.
Right.
But there's something wrong with Lukashenko.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't know if the Russians would do it. Also, one last thing on that. I don't know if the Russians would do it because Lukashenko is a very useful tool for them, and they don't have anybody.
It's not like they have somebody
him.
waiting in the wings to replace him with that will be
His son
better
is not ready.
or more palatable to the Belarusians. Right.
No. And as far as and then one other quick little note, as far as the opposition is concerned, Ken Supplian's absolutely right. There is a very powerful and ready opposition to step in when Lukashenko goes, because he's a terrible, terrible dictator.
All the more reason not to get rid of him for them, because that anybody that gives them a wedge point to kind of get the crowbar in and start moving it.
The opposition is alive and well, and Svetlana Tsikhanovskaya, the wife of the opposition leader who's in jail, is an amazing woman and has represented her country very well. And in a lot of ways, the European powers see her as the legitimate government of Belarus, only in exile.
Right.
I don't know if I agree with them, but it does show that the Western world is standing behind the true Belarus people, and the fact that that Lukashenko is not in power legitimately.
Right. That's right. There's. Do we have more? Or are we
Sure,
good?
I've got a couple more, but
Okay.
what did you have?
Yeah, no, I would. Well, I would get into sort of like the happy ending part of it. Now, we try not to be too Schadenfreude about the good news. I like my good news, pure and simple. But there's been so much of that kind of like certain awful people who have
my favorite REM song.
Certain awful people getting theirs.
Yeah.
Right. That there's been finally, there's been a group of these folks that are, going to see the inside of a courtroom, and in some cases seeing the inside of a jail cell.
Yep.
Not the least of which is that Trump has reasons to sweat and scream on Truth Social these days. But the people who were arrested for seditious conspiracy around the Capitol attack, again, that hopefully over time, makes the bait that Russia tries to drop, or that the CCP or Saudis try to drop into our social media world, harder to take. It makes it a little like it might put a little hitch in their get along, slow their roll a little bit, as it were. Hopefully. That said, we shall see what we shall see. By the way, Philip Ittner, for those of you that are newly introduced to him, has a vlog on YouTube. Just look him up on there, Philip, 1L, Ittner with 2 T's. And you just posted the one with your interview with Malcolm Nance? And
posted the thing with Malcolm. There'll be another interview that I'm going to post on Monday.
Okay.
I'm starting to think that I might schedule things, posting every week, a Monday interview and then a Friday vlog, and have that as a regular schedule.
That's smart. Yeah. Well, things really kick off when you get a regular schedule on the YouTubes, according to all those how to be like Mr. Beast videos that I watch. And Johnny Million's live on Twitch, twitch.tv/it's Johnny Million.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, right.
Yeah.
Is it the same name on there?
Yeah.
It's Johnny Million. Excellent. And then, of course, infotainmentwars.com and fwank.com if you want to go to Twitch. Subscribe if you have Amazon Prime. Yes. If you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime. And patreon.com/HalSparks helps support the entire show. I'm just gonna enjoy the fact. My ultimate happy ending is that we are here in the studio today, together with good friends. And I'm sorry that we couldn't pipe Phil in visually this time around, but it probably gives him a break from having to do his hair. So that's that.
Phil is finally pants free.
Is he?
Yeah.
What do you mean finally?
Yeah.
You do realize there's a reason he never gets up, talking to us.
Don't stand up, Phil.
Yeah, he doesn't want to pull it. He doesn't want a tube in it. He doesn't want to have a Jeffrey Toobin moment. But we are going to. I'm planning on doing and I don't know when you're stateside again, or if you have any plans to do that, Phil. But I'm going to plan on doing an in-town Chicago, live, do the show out in the world thing at some point this fall. And if Phil's around, we will drag him down there.
Absolutely.
I insist.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sure. Well, I got my place in Michigan, so that's fine. It's only about a 6-hour drive.
Only 6 hours.
I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Well,
yeah, I've
6 hours is nothing.
That's right. Yeah. These days, especially considering you could drive 2 hours and you're in an area that's being currently bombed. Nice greenery to drive through, and a couple of toll booths are no big deal after you've been through that. So, Phil, thank you for being with us.
Yay.
Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody here in Chicago for being so hospitable to my craziness.
They're so kind here.
Yep, it is lovely. And love you, Johnny Million. We'll see you later today.
Good old Chicago.
Yes, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Tune into the Thom Hartmann radio program, your home for news, opinion, and insight, right here on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
NBC News Radio, I'm Julie Ryan. President Biden says negotiators are very close to reaching a deal on the debt ceiling. Brad Siegel has the latest.
He made that comment as he left for Camp David for the long holiday weekend. He even expressed hope that a deal might have been with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen